It's been a little bit more than a year since I moved into this studio space, and in this video I want to show you all the ins and outs and the things that I love with this studio space, and hopefully give you a little bit of inspiration to create your own man cave. Talking about inspiration, I wonder how it would look if AI were to create a studio space. We're gonna head over to Artlist and we're gonna go to their new AI video generator. So the cool thing here is that it can generate images based on the text that you're typing in. And then from that image, it's actually capable of generating a video that you can use in one of your videos. Let me show you. Let's type in a high-tech YouTube studio with multiple camera gadgets. Boosh. Wow. Take a look at this space. Yo. Resolution. We're gonna go full HD, of course. Duration. I want it to be 10 seconds long. Animate. Now, one of my favorite things with this is that you're gonna be able to complete your videos with a B-roll that you don't have. So if you, for example, travel to Iceland and you wanna have a drone shot of the Icelandic nature, then you can just go in here, type that in, generate the image, and then generate the video from that image so that you can use that in the video that you are creating. But you also have the possibility to go into the style catalog and choose what kind of look that you want to have on the things that you're creating. So if you want to have the possibility to not only play around with AI image to video, but also AI voiceover, and also at the same time get the best sound effects and music that you can find online, in my personal opinion, then Artlist is the place to go. And if you use the link in the description, you're going to be able to get 2 months for free when you're signing up. Highly recommend it. I think that one of the first things that we should do is to actually switch lenses, because this is a little bit too tight. I think that this is a 14 mil. Whoa, should be good. Well, this lens is a hefty lens. It's actually 28 to 70 f2.0 GM lens. Wicked lens. Can highly recommend if you're looking into getting one of the most expensive lenses that is on the market, but also an incredibly good lens that is on the market. One of the questions that I get asked the most is, what is the size of this space? And it is actually a total of 50 square meters. Now, I don't know what that is in square feet or square inches, but I'm gonna put the conversion right here. Huh? And when I started to visualize this space, I wanted to create a space where I felt inspired, motivated, but also at the same time relaxed and comfortable, if that makes sense. So if you just tuned into the channel, you might not know my backstory, but I was actually doing bodybuilding for quite a long period of time in my life. And one of the dreams that I had when I was doing bodybuilding was to always have my own gym. So when I visualized this studio, having my own gym was a key component in this entire space. Now, I didn't want the entire gym to take up too much space. So basically I tried to narrow it down and place things in such a way so that I could still utilize as much of the space that I got here without having to move a lot of the equipment around. So it's a total area of 11.5 square meters of gym area that I can use here in the studio. When it comes to the weights, we decided to go for the bumper weights from a brand that is called Eleiko. So if you are into the fitness industry, then you probably know which brand it is, but it's actually a Swedish brand. We decided to go for the bumper weights because they're easy to use. They are also not breaking the ground whenever you do deadlifts. Also decided to get an easy curl bar, mainly because I am a huge fan of training my bicep. Work those guns, va? You're not only limited to doing the biceps curls, it's actually kind of a versatile bar, but I do like it, and I always use this whenever I was working out in the gym. Now, as for the big bar, we have the Eleiko 20 kilos XF bar. It's actually made with CrossFit in mind, so it's a little bit more bendable, but I thought I'd get this instead of the more stiff one because we do have a little bit more CrossFit and functionality training here at home than what I would do in the gym. The half rack here is also from the brand called Argos. Can highly recommend this if you're here in Sweden. I'm gonna drop a link in the description down below. This entire setup, except for the bar, cost a total of $1,100. So it's not actually as expensive as one might think to get some really high quality stuff. The dumbbells that we got over here in the corner is from a brand that's called Thor Fitness. And the reason that I chose these were mainly because I love the orange look on these dumbbells, but I love them. They have been serving me really well. Now, I haven't been working out for the last 5 months because I've been building a freaking pool and a patio, but I guess we're gonna jump back to it. Enough about the gym. I just wanted to share a little bit for those of you that are fitness interested. But when it comes to storage, like this was one of the key parts when it comes to visualizing this studio and making it look a little bit different compared to what I have been seeing. My initial thought was actually to have garage storage, basically those big metal cabinets that you put right next to the wall and there's this shiny metal kind of surface to them. But then I started to think that if something happens to them, it's gonna be kind of expensive to, buy the spare parts. But I still wanted to have the same kind of functionality. So my fiance actually came up with a great idea. How about kitchen interior? Because you get these great open areas that you can work with, and then you have a bunch of different cabinets that can swallow all the tools and all the drones and all the cameras and stuff that I've gathered throughout these years. And the best part was that not only could you go into IKEA's kitchen planner and kitchen designer and do the entire design on your own before you actually go to the store, but if one of these were to break, then I can just go there and buy a new one. It's gonna take me 2 seconds to replace it. So the simplicity of this setup not only makes it incredibly versatile, but also incredibly sleek looking. And just to give you a little bit of a hint on how much it actually swallows, you can see right here, all the lenses, we got the cameras, and then up here, we got the tri-charge, a bunch of cables, so on and so forth. And then we move over here, we have a bunch of drones, we have another drone, and then we have a bunch of other cool stuff. It is just swallowing so many things. Check this out. My DeWalt toolbox. Woo! And one of the visions that I had with the studio was that I wanted it to be a 360 experience when I was here. So if I want to go over to this side and start working on things, I can do that with no issues. But I could also go over to this side and start working on things with no issues. And then I can do my workout over here. I can sit down over here. And then whenever I have someone as a guest, I'm sitting there, they're sitting here. It just makes things so much easier whenever you have a place where you can use every single space of that place, if that makes sense. Over here, we have the Sunlu filament dryer, which I use for my 3D printers whenever I need to dry some filaments before I print. We also got the needler, which is a replica of the needler from the Halo series. This is such a sick Nerf gun. And then we got the plaque for my tri-charge, where we sold more than 10,000 units. That's actually pretty sick. We also got a little bit more Nerf guns, a little bit of rum standing here, whiskey, the YouTube plaque, and this is something that I want to talk about. This is actually 3D printed and designed by me. One of the reasons why I wanted to create these is because there's no similar thing that I know of that you can purchase that makes it easy to mount your camera to the wall. Hang on. Let there be light. It's actually a very simple wall mount where you have 3 screws into the wall, and then you have a bolt that goes into a tripod head, and then you can just remove your camera like that. Makes it super simple to get a bunch of different angles when you're working in the studio and jump between the different sets that you got in your space. Now this right here is one of my favorite 3D printers of all time, the Bambu Labs A1. It has the possibility to purchase this, which is the AMS. Now, the AMS stands for Automatic Material Switcher, which means that you can mount 4 different colors onto these spools right here, and then you're gonna be able to print using all 4 colors on your print, which is kind of sick. But it also means that you don't have to shift between the different materials that you're using. So if you're using PETG or maybe a little bit PLA, maybe you have ABS up here, then you can just choose that when you go into the slicer and then set that before you start your print. And then of course we got the desk, which is probably one of my favorite key points here in the studio. There's so much going on with this desk, but I designed it to be a floating desk. I guess that is just my personal word of having a desk with no cables. So if you go down here, there's no cords that is going into the desk. Down below, the cords that you can see are up here, but everything is actually connected to this outlet right here with a Philips Hue switch. And I'm actually thinking about making an entire video where I go through all the different tech that I got here in the studio, because there's so much things that I can't cover in one single video. Philips Hue has been around in my YouTube videos ever since I started my channel, and all lights that you can see here in the studio are connected to Philips Hue, and I can control all of them with the press of a button. See this? Hoi! Turning it off. Maybe I want to turn on the video lights. Ta-da! Kind of sick, right? Now we got the video lights turned on. We got the rim light here in the back. But if I want to go back to normal or just relax and chill, see that? All the lights turned on to a chill mode. Now, if there's something that I can highly recommend when it comes to smart home stuff, it is Philips Hue. For as long as I've been using Philips Hue, there's been no issues. They just work. This entire setup that you can see here is also something that came to mind when I was designing this space, because I wanted to make sure that it was a floating desk and also rotatable. So this is basically the pivot point of this entire desk, which basically means that I can rotate the entire desk around that specific pivot point without anything actually getting caught in the desk. And if you watched my previous studio tour video, then you probably know that I had this as my background previously, but I was actually not that fond of this backdrop, so I decided to shift it to this corner instead, because I felt that this was more natural. There was more things going on here in the background, and I could also utilize this entire area a little bit more if I had this as the backdrop. The monitor that I'm using is the Apple Pro XDR display. And man, there's a lot of opinions about this display. It is freaking expensive. I do not recommend you to buy this display unless you have the money to burn, but it's also an amazing display. Not only is it 6K, which is giving you incredible resolution on this monitor, but also you have the possibility to tilt it into vertical mode. So basically, if you want to work in vertical mode, then there's that. Like it automatically adjusts with you. So if I turn it back, flop, like the entire OS follows you when you want to work in vertical mode. And it is just one of those displays that I have been incredibly satisfied with. Previously, I did use my MacBook Pro M1 Max as my main computer. I used that for everything. It was plugged in here in the studio and so on and so forth. But I actually did buy the Mac Mini M4 Max or M4 Pro, I think it's called. And so far, it has been performing really, really well with every single task that I've thrown at it. I initially wanted to go for the Mac Studio with the M3 Ultra, but then again, it was like the Mini was at $3,000 and the Ultra was at $9,000. So it was 3 times as expensive. And now that I've been using the Mac Mini for approximately a month, I actually don't feel any regrets. I'm super satisfied with it. And if you're looking into getting a very good computer without breaking the bank, still, I mean, like $3,000 is an insane amount of money, but you could go so much more expensive. And then over here, we have the SanDisk ProBlade. It is by far one of the coolest setups that I know. So whenever I want to go on a trip and I want to bring one of my hard drives with me, I just pull one of these out and then I put this into a sleeve. I offload everything into this. And when I get home, I just push it back in there and then I can start editing on the computer seamlessly, and no need to have any sort of extra disks lying around on my desk. And everything is connected to this, which is the Corsair TBT 200 Thunderbolt 4 dock. You have Thunderbolt ports in the back, you have one Thunderbolt port here in the front, you have a USB-C, you have a regular USB, and you also have a 3.5mm if you want to connect your headphones, an SD card reader, and it is an overall insanely good performer to handle all the data that I'm pushing through it. Okay, are you ready? I'm gonna show you the brains of the entire operation. I made an entire video about this, so I'm gonna drop a link in the description to that, but check this out. Ta-da! This is my entire network setup. But the best part about this isn't the network in and by itself, it's just how easy things work together. But if you're looking to get one of the best NOS units that you can get on the market right now, I can highly recommend this. This is the UNOS Pro from Ubiquiti, and it is a 7-bay NOS that is just working as intended. I got 2 of these right here, and I gotta say, it's a beauty, isn't it? I've also been getting a lot of question on the actual arm that my monitor is attached to. I got one of the most expensive arms that I could find because, hey, it's one of the most expensive monitors that you can find. And I thought to myself, I really hope that this is good. And honestly, holy shit, this is probably one of the most stiff arms that I have ever used in my entire life. And I've had plenty of these during these 6 years that I've been working, but none of them has been performing just as good as this one. And I think that this is called the Ergotron HX. I'm gonna drop a link to the exact one in the description if you're interested in getting one, but it is sturdy, it is super stiff, and it feels incredibly premium. Everything is made out of metal, so it's highest of quality. Now moving over to this side, you can see that we have 2 different lights here. We have the Forza 300B Mark II, which is a bicolor light that I'm using as my main light with a 60 centimeter softbox together with a grid. And then we have the Paddle Slim up top. So for example, if I'm doing a top-down shot, then I just drag this in and we're gonna have some extra rim light on this right here. The best part is that everything that you see here is attached to this part, which is the Manfrotto Varipole. And I actually found this solution when I was trying to figure out how I would get the power from that outlet in the ceiling to the desk without it looking like just a pipe that is holding all the cables. This was it. You know, just clamp it between the floor and the ceiling, and then it's stuck there. You can mount a couple of heavy stuff onto it without it actually budging. My main camera whenever I'm shooting videos is usually the FX3. Love this camera, man. Like, I'm gonna make a separate video on why I think this is so good, even to this day. And then as for the monitor, we have an iPad Pro that can be connected to either this camera or that camera without a USB-C or Wi-Fi. And I've also been getting a lot of question on what this is and if it's actually used for video editing. And the answer is no. It is used to do some 3D design. And if you're into 3D design and you want to have the simplest solution there is to actually move in 3D space, can I highly recommend. And then over here we have the logo wall with the Prime Gear EXO logo, and then some of the new caps that I just released the pre-order on that is over right now. So if you're watching this and you want to have one of these caps, too late, I'm sorry. But you should follow me on Instagram to get the updates whenever I do release some merch. If you would like to see a video where I go through all the tech that is in my studio and more in-depth and more detailed stuff, do drop a comment down below. But I really hope that this video could give you some inspiration to building your own space, because you also got to realize that this has been in the works for over 6 years at this point. Like, I started with my previous studio, now it's this studio, and I'm probably going to spend another 6 to 10 years optimizing this entire space just as much as I possibly can. Thanks so much for watching. Really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do not forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, man, or woman, girl, elderly, youngster, whatever you prefer to be called. Peter from Sweden is saying goodbye.